we need to learn first and foremost how to challenge these thoughts. One of the ways that within therapy that has been proven over and over again to help support that, one of very many strategies, but the one that I like to share when I do these kind of presentations is what is known as Socratic thinking. There's good old Socrates or Socrates, Socrates, thinking. He was a thinker and he asked a lot of questions, which is where this concept came from, out of what is now traditionally known as cognitive behavioral therapy. Within cognitive behavioral therapy, Socratic thinking is a way to slow down our thoughts. In other words, if I take out my brain, see my brain right here, and it's spinning around, it's going on a curl, I got to go, whoa, 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 slow down, slow down my thoughts, think things through so I'm not making rash, impulsive decisions, slow it down. Okay, we're calm, we're good. And then we got to challenge our thoughts. Once we're good, then I can pop my brain back in. And now I can logically function. I can think things through, see more clearly, make wiser decisions. So how do we do this? What are we talking about? Socratic thinking. How do I challenge these thoughts? Well, a couple different questions. Depending, this is just a few ideas I thought of. May or may not be relevant to you or not, depending where you're at in your journey of this. But example number one is, how do I tell my wife I've been diagnosed with prostate cancer and I may not live for another year, or maybe it's 10 years, man, how do I even say that? I'm even trying to process myself. Maybe you have a different one. And how do I tell my partner I'm just not able to get an erection thanks to the meds, thanks to just wherever I'm at in life. And I just don't feel like a real man anymore. I don't want to tell other guys I don't feel like a real man anymore. This is embarrassing. This hurt. Oh man, the shame that can happen on a man with this, where then we isolate. No, we got to challenge those thoughts so we can get out of that isolation. The other question that I have here that you're seeing is the third example. And maybe this is a partner question or a family member question. How do I have a relationship with my diagnosed partner? And when tomorrow, I don't know, he says 10 years, but the doctor said maybe a month, maybe a year. How do I have this relationship with my partner when tomorrow could be his last day? I am so terrified of that. What do I do? That's a very good thought to challenge and question, or to question and challenge. So one of the ways we can do that is, again, as I said, is Socratic thinking. And this is just a few samples of some of these questions. You can write down, watch the PowerPoint, watch the replay afterwards, and then you can write it down, and there's way more than this. This is just kind of what I felt was appropriate for specifically if someone was dealing with prostate cancer, I would probably give them some of these questions for consideration. What is the evidence for this thought? And a lot of times they have like two parts, like what's the evidence against it? When we look at the partner question, it's like, how do I have a relationship when they might be dead tomorrow or 10 years from now? What's the evidence? Well, I just said that he was given the diagnosis of prostate cancer, but what's the evidence against it? We don't know it's going to be tomorrow. It could be maybe a month, a year. Could it be 15 years with hopeful ongoing advances within the medical community? We have to challenge those thoughts. What's the evidence against it? To look at things in a different way. Am I looking at all the evidence or just what supports my thoughts? Oh, I'm dead. What's the point of moving on? Well, I might as well just give up. No. Am I looking at all the evidence? There is huge shift within the medical community in the last 10 to 20 years from my current understanding compared to where it was back in the day. Good. I'm in my 50s, so that's good news for me. God forbid, should I become part of a stat that I hope I don't, but I can't be naive either. And so those are just things. Well, that's okay. I'm being real with y'all tonight, but am I looking at all the evidence. That's why it's important to ask these questions, figure these things out, things that are getting in the way, and figure out different techniques, let's try some different medication. And if it's not working, but I have to be careful that it's not just what supports my thought, because that's where we can often, what's called a cognitive distortion. We often distort that, hey, I'm still alive today and I need to do the best of what I can, even though I might feel like crap today. Is this thought, here's another one, is this thought black and white? We certainly have had a lot of black and white thinking with the last American election. Oh yeah, got to vote Democrat. Oh, got to vote Republican. Trump, Trump, Trump. Come on, come on. I don't care. Is your decision for when our next election comes up, hopefully sooner than later, as they would say. Oh, little political bias there coming out. My bad. Is this thought black and white when reality is way more complicated? Well, the doctor says I'm going to die, so I guess that's it. No, this is complicated stuff. There's a lot more. And some of you may be in this viewing that have been around for more than a year or two or three or four or five and going, yeah, I mean, I deal with clients all the time who, I don't know what to do. Well, what do you mean? My parent was diagnosed with terminal cancer 15 years ago and they're still going. A month later, they come in. So what happened? They died. Wow. So these are realities that happen. But boy, I'll tell you, my hope would be that could I have redeemed as much time as I can in the best way possible without being so worried about tomorrow, because today again has enough worries of its own. Another one, am I having this thought out of habit, or do the facts support it? That's a good question to ask, because sometimes, even prior to diagnosis, pre-diagnosis, I may have been just one of those people who just was a hypochondriac. Maybe I did have thoughts where, out of habit, oh, that's it. Everything's over. What's the point of playing the game? What's the point of watching the rest of this game? What's the point of watching Mike Tyson? Oh, guilty confession, I watched the game. Oh, that I might need counseling for that one. Okay, sad, but we'll move on from that. Am I having this thought out of habit, or do the facts support it? Hey, the doctor did say, maybe it is the actual terminal definition. Oh boy. But we also have facts that state that not everyone, some will pass on sooner than what we had hoped for, and others keep going on that we don't understand. But it's important to challenge those thoughts so that we can redeem the time that is given, whatever that time is. Moving on, warriors take responsibility. Here we go. This might be tougher for the men. The women, the majority might go, oh yeah, talk about this, Jeremiah. I need my guy to get this. Well, I'm just going to introduce a concept. But warriors take responsibility for their primary emotions, not secondary emotions, because there's hundreds of secondary emotions. And as we're about to learn, I just like to keep things simple. So primary emotion simplifies it. It gets to the root issue. And the breastplate is what I call, that's the guard for our heart. That's the armor for our heart, by utilizing and understanding and applying primary emotions. So when warriors take responsibility for their primary emotions, first and foremost, warriors must, I'm sorry to say, you can't go around it, you can't go over it, you can't go under it. You must go through the emotional loss of the diagnosis. Henceforth, anticipatory grief. We are going to have to go through that grief, anger, denial, depression. Ugh. We got to go through it. And it's going to be in different ways, different intensities, different days, not in that exact order either all the time. But we got to go through it. And it is a loss. It's an emotional loss. Primary emotions, what are we talking about? The main primary emotions, depending on what literature is read or understood by the quote, quote, experts out there, are primarily hurt, fear, anger, shame, loss and rejection, sadness and despair. Surprise, guess what I came home with? And joy. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's the one that's my hope for all people who are, when I'm dealing with health, specifically health and emotional issues, is, if you had joy, probably wouldn't be here. But we do need to cultivate joy to give us hope for that future, to live in the present, to be able to thrive with prostate cancer. But here's the thing, why are we talking about emotions? Now I want to clarify, I'm not talking about feelings. Oh, no, 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 no. That just puts a shiver down my spine as a guy's guy, an Alberta boy kind of guy. I'm talking about emotions from a male perspective tonight. That is a way to understand what's happening, not just in our prefrontal cortex that we just talked about, but also what's called the limbic system, which is our emotion center, and to be able to learn how to take responsibility and accountability for what's happening so we can go through this emotional loss more effectively.